All right, so let's talk about lighting. Lighting is a huge deal, and I think if you know how to light, your camera is not as important as you think. So if you can start to master lighting, it's gonna go a long way. So for Lee's story, I was using two lights. I used a KinoFlow 4 bank as the key light and an ARRI 150 as the hair light. So let's talk about where do we put the key light and what is it? So your key light is the light that it's illuminating the whole scene. It's the main light. So I tend to start at 45 degrees above Lee, where he's looking, and then 45 degrees off to the side. So the light is casting a shadow on one side of his face. Now here's a great thing about using a KinoFlow is that it's really soft. It's a soft light, so it's gonna be flattering and it's gonna look more natural. And I took it a step further. I put a 4x4 silk in front of it that just diffused the light even more. So what you want to do is get the silk as close to your subject as you can without getting it in the frame so that it's going to be a larger source of light. So that's just generally where I start. Now sometimes I want to add a little more drama to the shot. So what I would do is I would keep taking that key light further around, kind of away from the camera, and half of the face is going to be almost completely in a shadow, and that's going to give you a lot more drama in your shot. So the second light that I used on Lee was a hair light, the ARRI 150. It's a small light, it's not crazy bright, and the thing you need to consider when you're using more than one light is the color temperature. You want all the lights to be of the same color temperature, because if you're using like an orange light and a blue light, they start to look muddy and it's going to be ugly. So let me talk about the placement of the hair light. The goal of the hair light is to just help separate your subject from the background even more. A hair light is especially important if your character's got dark hair. This is going to help separate them from a dark background and add shape. You'll be able to see the shape of their head. So it just doesn't look like a face is kind of floating there. So generally your hair light is opposite of your key light. And it's above them. It's kind of not too far behind them. You don't want it like pointing towards a camera necessarily. You just kind of want it pointing down at a bit of an angle at the back of their head. And a couple things you need to watch out for is any shadows it makes. Like if they're wearing a collar, it can cast a shadow, or the light, if it's off to the side a little too far, the backlight could be hitting the tip of their nose, and that's going to be a little distracting if they keep moving around. Now, when I use a hair light, I use it very sparingly, because the brighter it is, the more noticeable it is, the more produced your shot is going to look. And we want the shot to just feel natural. So it's just a pretty subtle, just a little subtle light that just adds a little bit. It helps add a little more separation. So if you can get your hair light right, it's going to add a lot to your shot.